Hello, this message is for Sam, the Smart Approaches to Marijuana. Do forgive me, I'm currently attending school. I'm in university, so I am time budgeting. So I'm going to prepare breakfast while I make this video. Actually, I'll pause it. Anyway, so I gave my testimony while I was distracted with school and everything. I didn't retain what I wanted to say because the lies told by the people for the cannabis industry before I was able to speak that derailed me on my track a little bit. For the secondhand marijuana exposure, that is involuntary intoxication or forced drugging, I will attach the link in the description to the study showing that secondhand exposure causes THC and cannabinoid metabolites to positively test in saliva and urine and blood. I realize many cannabis industry heads will, oh, that's no big deal, ha ha ha, it just makes you hungry and chill. In 2019, one of my neighbors at a place I previously resided was smoking marijuana, and the smoke blew into my airspace and thus into my bloodstream, right? That's the combustion method of chemical extraction is when you put the fire to the substance, the chemical in the plant, in this case, goes into the smoke, and so anyone who breathes in the smoke, therefore has the chemical in the smoke go in the lungs, to the cilia, to the heart, to the bloodstream to affect the brain and nervous system. The definition of a psychoactive chemical affects the brain and nervous system. This involuntary exposure to secondhand marijuana caused me to go into such a severe schizophrenic episode that I put my landlord in the hospital with 7 stitches above his right eye with a baseball bat. It's not a joke. This is actually interesting because the Bryn Spelter case, there's been so much homicides and other, robberies, assaults, rapes, etc., caused by cannabis, that cannabis-induced psychosis is a legal defense that is very, very, very used. And so the lawyers are debating whether it was voluntary or involuntary consumption of cannabis. So in that incident where I put the boss, distracted, where I put the landlord in the hospital, that was involuntary intoxication or forced drugging. So if the government was moral, this wouldn't happen. The state of New Mexico tried to do a regulation through zones, right? There was cannabis consumption zones, and then outside of these zones, nobody was supposed to smoke it. That wasn't enforced at all. It was a complete failure. Nobody stuck to that. Marijuana people are addicts. They don't voluntarily self-regulate their behavior unless they're coerced, on average. So if the government was moral, fortunately the landlord didn't press charges, but if he had, the government would have said, wait a minute, this isn't Gabe's fault. This isn't my fault. He's been expressing very specifically that he has schizophrenia. Marijuana activates and exacerbates schizophrenia. Secondhand marijuana causes psychosis. He's trying to prevent it. The government is aggressively forcing it on him through legalization. Legalization is increasing because media manipulation of the masses through social media. Russia has an anti-marijuana propaganda law, whereas in the United States, Lou Adler did Cheech and Chong, Snoop Dogg, etc. The entertainment industry is cultural evolution, social engineering, and so they created a black market decades before it transitioned into the legal market. But the black market still thrives, especially in states like California, despite the lies that legalization would eliminate the black market. No, the black market's even more powerful now than it was because of the absence of consequences and the lack of enforcement of law. My initial statement that was going to be more aggressive was, this could be just a sham, the whole meeting to voice opposition to legal marijuana, federal, rescheduling, etc. And so the only way to save, my advice to Americans essentially who want to save their children is to kill their local drug dealer, because there is no political solution. The government is not helping, the police are not helping, the military is not helping, etc., etc., etc. Hence no appeal to morality or reason. The cannabis industry does not care in the slightest about the suicides, the homicides, the vehicular fatalities, the rapes, and robberies and assaults, etc. Now, when I say rapes, and you can Google this, or request, and I can data source to cite to quantify and qualify my statements of anything I say. Marijuana has equaled or surpassed alcohol in many states that have legalized as a date rape drug. The main article I found was in 2018, which means 5 years ago it was known, and they just kept legalizing it anyway. Just didn't care about the fact that it was causing rapes. They only cared about money. The title of that is The Prevalence of Marijuana's Role in Sexual Assaults. Now, because the cannabis industry is so rich, they purchase politicians like prostitutes as well as Google employees, etc. So, because Google is used for social engineering by people with money, right? They're for rent. The other articles were, how marijuana helps heal rape. Now, if you Google a little better, you will find the huge history of human trafficking and marijuana industry and pornography industries as interconnected. You could even just Google marijuana and porn. Right now, those two things are 10% of the United States economy and growing. It's insane the level of corruption that we're hitting. It's just wild. My concern is that with federal legalization, my only option will be suicide because it's better than living psychotic. It's not fun being schizophrenic and forced into involuntary intoxication. Psychosis. Psychotic episodes are not fun. Just ask the landlord or my left hand. So, there is no political solution. The cannabis industry does not care about the victims of its industry. It only cares about money. And this is why they lie. Brandolini's law, it requires more effort to refute a lie than it does to tell it, right? The first guy was saying it's just a plant. Heroin comes from a plant. So does cocaine. Water hemlock is just a plant. One of my favorite responses to that, it's just a plant, so it's harmless, is really do the water hemlock challenge and let me know if plants are harmless. Of course, nobody ever does it. And in my opinion, if they do, it's natural selection, but but it's to the point, right? This is psychologically manipulative terminology. They're trying to do what the cannabis industry does, water down the harms and falsely, elevate the benefits. This is profit-oriented. This is predatory capitalism. As well as social engineering, marijuana does help, keep people more psychologically malleable and controlled. If you're not self-inducing cognitive impairment, psychosis, etc., then it's just a placebo. There's no monetary value. If there's no harms, there's no monetary value to the drug. You can't have profit without the risk of harms. That's the whole point of smoking it, to separate from reality, escape reality, etc., etc., etc. So another one, this is insane to me, right? The conflict of interest. I'm going to be sarcastic. I assume you would know that, but some people apparently just don't. No way in the history of drugs have the drug dealers or drug users ever lied for drugs and money, right? Like one of the things is, vets say it helps PTSD. Yeah. No way have vets ever lied for drugs. A veteran would never lie for drugs. It's not like I have cousins who ended up ODing on drugs and were smoking marijuana, so I know personally from first-hand experience, veterans will lie for drugs in a heartbeat. It's not like the people selling the marijuana would lie about the marijuana, right? They wouldn't lie. No, it cures cancer and it's harmless and medicinal. The guy selling the marijuana told us so on Facebook. It's insane how effective that is. That exact thing. The reason marijuana has increased in legalization in all these states is the manipulation of statistics and data through social media presentation. And NBC, CNN, etc., other media presentation that's not social media. And one example that would be the state of Colorado. So one of the media presentations is Colorado generated billions of dollars for public education in schools, right? Remember that? Like 10 years ago, I think? 9 years ago? Anyway, despite this, Colorado's literacy rate has declined. It's dropped since legalization. And so has Colorado's graduation success rate. And I'd imagine this is going on in other states, but like I said, I'm busy with school. I don't have time to do all this stuff to, quantify these statements more effectively. But you can Google this yourself and find your own sources. The Connecticut, they did a financial assessment and found for every dollar it made the marijuana industry, excuse me, it cost the taxpayer $4. The rise in crime as a result of marijuana legalization increases costs of incarceration. The rise of homelessness and welfare dependence as well increases a strain on the taxpayer. So when I say social services, I don't just mean welfare. I mean people who end up in, institutionalized in cannabis-induced psychosis in a state institution or hospitalized, etc. And many other things. I hope your organization isn't a sham, and this isn't just controlled opposition. Not to sound paranoid, but it's possible. And I hope you effectively do not only prevent federal rescheduling, federal legalization, but that you actually start an aggressive campaign to recriminalize in all the states, or at least many of the states that have, legalized or decriminalized. I'm in North Carolina right now. It's technically illegal, but they're decriminalizing it so much that it seems like it's only a matter of time before I end up suiciding in psychosis because of this social engineering by the marijuana industry and, etc. Hopefully not. Anyway, have a good day, and thank you for your time.